to talk about the stamp platform because you want to see it.
No, you're fine.
So this is the stamp platform. So you can watch the Facebook Live video to learn all about it. I know there's a lot of tools on the market. This is one that, you know, someone that's been in the industry for many years. I'm usually not a Me Too person. You know, I'm pretty content. People have it. I'm like, good on you. But as a stamper, having those, I'm like, I need one really designed, in my opinion, for a stamper, someone that's going to be using it as a tool and for mixed media. And so there's some really great properties about it. One, and when I'm done, I'll pass it on so you can feel it. It weighs about 2 pounds. I wanted something that's going to have a substantial weight to it so it's secure on my surface. It's backed with foam, non-stick feet, so when it's on there, it's going to grip your surface, okay? The platform itself is designed into 2 pieces, okay? We have our base and our top is acrylic. There's nothing etched in here, because if you have anything etched and you use paints or inks, they're going to get into the etch line and stain them. This is going to be easy cleanup. The bottom, also not printed, because if you get archival ink or anything and you have to clean it with a solvent, it would remove the screen printing. This entire base surface, this is all magnetic, okay? So I have a full 8.5-inch space down here to use my surface. And how it works is quite simple. First, you determine what type of stamp you're using. Are you using a rubber stamp or are you using a clear stamp? Okay, it's really that simple. You read what you're using. I'm going to be using a rubber stamp, so it needs to say rubber stamp. Once you do, stand this straight up, locks into the channel, and your platform is done. It will not release from the base unless you stand it straight up and pull this out of the track. Okay, so you don't have to change it if you're not changing the kind of stamps. So when I use it, I do use it on my table like normal. And for those that watch the Facebook Live video, there were the endless commenters of telling me to quit spinning my platform and I should move my paper. I understand that, but I needed to keep it in camera range. So when my camera is mounted on my tripod, in order for you to see what I was doing, I had to turn it so you could see it. And everyone's like, you know, you don't have to move it. If you move your paper, I'm like, I'm with you. So just so you know, this is normal. Now you'll be able to see how I normally use it, okay? So I do use it like that, but like I'd open it and I'm like, well, they're not even gonna see me inking a stamp. It just shows up again. All right, I've got my magnets. Now this again could be watercolor cardstock, it could be anything that you want it to be. In this case, we're going to use this and we're gonna add our goat. Pretty cool, okay? So we position our stamp, then you're just gonna take your platform, press it down, and that just picks up your stamp. Then we're going to take our ink. Do we have any archival? Do you see it? Nah. Way to go, Wendy. Way to go. Let me find some. There we are. Now we're going to go ahead and ink this up. You're also going to notice that how I ink a stamp, right? How I ink a stamp really aggressively. I've got a total solid platform that I can go ahead and ink this, right? So it's not going to bow and bend. I can be super aggressive when it comes to how much ink I want to put onto my image. Then I'm just going to take my image, place it down, good pressure. And this is built up all the way around, so it's not going to cave in anywhere else. If you're a CPR stamper, you can still do that, but you don't need to. You can lift that up. You know who you are. People that are like, okay. You can still do that. So here, I've stamped it. It's great, but you know what? I want it to be a little bit more intense. That's kind of cool. That's really one of the great features I think about having a stamp tool is that I can go in and I can make an image more intense, even something super sketchy, right? Something that has just a lot of fine lines. So you get to build in, and what's also cool, if you start really playing with this tool, you can get different gradation with the same ink. So if you were doing an image and you wanted like the glasses to be darker black and kind of it fade out in the back, you don't have to ink the whole stamp every time. You can ink parts and pieces, and then you're just going to go in and position it down, and it's never going to move. It's going to give you great detail. All right? Then we're going to just clean this off. I can take this off. There is my image. I've got my stamp. So now let me share a technique with you, because this was a cool technique that I did in the video, and I think for stores or teachers or anyone that wants to utilize this tool in a different way other than stamping in black ink, this is really for you. I think this is pretty cool. So we're going to work with some distress markers. Okay, kind of move this off. Distress markers, I like to work as a box of crayons, so I'm going to stand them up, but I don't want to block the view, so I guess I'm going to lay them down because I feel bad sitting over there. This is the stamp platform. Yes. So here we're going to go in and we're going to watercolor. Let's do a couple of things when it comes to watercolor. So I'll do 2 things. One, I'll do a technique, but one, I'll show you what really impressed me about this. So let me take a stamp that I would never use. And that would be a clear stamp. That's just me personally. I don't use clear stamps. I design them, sell them, I get it. So I just switched it. Didn't want to do it in smoke and mirrors. I switched it. It says clear, locked it in, okay? Because now I'm using clear stamps. So when I work with clear stamps, they're all right. They're just like, I have to be careful. You have to be careful with clear stamps, and I'm not a careful person. I'm gonna go for it. So I'm gonna place this down. Let's position my magnet so it doesn't move. Let's position the flower there. All right. Get this tin out of the way. We're gonna ink this up. Ink on there, awesome. Take it right off. Okay. I'm gonna stamp it really light. Oh darn, bumpy watercolor paper. Not really good. Yes, we can make that image really good, even on watercolor. Okay. Then I can take this, peel this off. Love the ability, especially if you have this garden set, that I can go in and really position where I want that flower head to be. And I can go in, add my ink. And this is a very fine line image, which is why it's really great to show you, because even with the fine line image on watercolor cardstock, the bumpy side, it's kind of cool to have a tool like this because you can really go in and build up that layer that you want. And I'm showing you a super fine line image that you would think, if it's not lined up, you've got a bold stroke on here, and it isn't. It stays totally fine detail. So that is textured watercolor cardstock stamped. Yeah, that's no smoke and mirrors. So now I'll show you a technique. All right, so if I need to clean stuff off of this, maybe you have permanent ink, you can use your stamp cleaners. I also like to just get alcohol wipes. Sorry, I just keep kind of... All right. That's what I use. You can use your stamp cleaners if you want. You know I'm just such a huge fan of stamp cleaner. So I have just endless bottles everywhere. I do not. So this totally works. So if you have a solvent ink or anything that's going to be permanent, alcohol will take it right off. It could be rubbing alcohol, it could be anything, that'll clean it up. So that's really not going to damage your platform at all. Now let's go into technique, shall we? This is cool. I like this because there's so many people that have a fear of watercolor, right? We love the look of it, afraid to do it. Or if you're like me, you like to watch people color on YouTube all day long, and then you turn it and you're like, that was awesome. I'm not doing it. That was really good to watch, right? Anyone like that? I'm totally like that. Yeah, I wish I could color like that. I wish I could color like Christina Werner. I can't, but I can watch her, right?
For hours and hours and hours.
Totally. And every time a video, I'm like, I'm gonna watch her color again. That will never be me. And it looks so beautiful. All right, so here we're going to go on watercolor cardstock. Let's take a stamp that we may want to watercolor with. Oh, look at that, butterflies. It's a great set, it's called Flutter. So we're gonna take a butterfly stamp, we're gonna place it down. Now notice I've changed platform, right? Changed the position of it. I'm also going to work with rubber, so I should flip this over, rubber, and I'm working with a rubber stamp. Got it? I'm gonna place this down. Now I'm just going to take my colors, and I'm gonna take the marker, and I'm gonna color on a stamp. And you may think of this and you're like, wait a minute, I've seen this technique many moons ago. Well, before when we did this technique, we had to color the stamp. We had to spray it with water, and we had to hope for the best when we stamped. We hoped that we got blue where we wanted blue and yellow where we wanted yellow, and you got what you got. Well, not with this. Now I can go in one color at a time, and I can create a watercolor. I can say, oh, there's my pink layer. Oh, now let me go in and blend a little bit of yellow. And I can see from my image where I want to put the next layer. Maybe I want it to blend with the previous layer. Cool. Let's go in, add some water, stamp it. Oh, now I've got some yellow on there. And this is very cool because it gives you total control as to where you want to put color. Now I'm doing a little green body, and maybe because my color's out there, let's add a little bit of blue to these outer wings right there. That'll be cool. Let's add a little bit of color down here at the bottom. So I can see from this image what I want on this image. Spray that with water. Add another layer. It's so good. Because you're using it as a technique. You're not just using it for black ink. You're like, You don't know. And it's like, you know what, but I still want a little bit more yellow. Great, we can go back and add it. And you know what, the top of that didn't really turn out the way I wanted. Excellent. I can go in and add exactly what I want, where I want it. If I want to blend in a little bit of color there. So this is a really awesome way to do watercolor, whether it's with the butterfly, or whether you're doing the wildflowers. Look at that, let's add our layer on there. It's pretty cool. Now when I dry this, I do like to take it off the platform because our platform is still made out of acrylic, it's still plastic, so it's just something that you don't want to expose to heat. It's heat stable, but not heat proof, so there's no reason why you have to dry your cardstock on your platform. But like, take a look at that, that's so cool. Yeah. That would be your best stamping day if you really did that in one swipe, right? You would know that was your best stamping day ever, right? Because we've had those where we've colored it and we sprayed it and we're like, that was the best. But imagine always being able to do it. That's pretty cool. That's kind of knowing your formula. You know it. I'm one of you. I get it. There's that time, you know, where we do it, we're like, yes. Yeah. And there's other times where you're just like, flip it over, you're like, not gonna work. And you don't have to worry about too much water and too much this because you're doing it one layer at a time. But I think that's really, that's just cool. It's a cool way to use a tool. So that is why I did the stamp platform, a tool. So I'll pass it around if you want to feel it. Like, I think you should feel it.
What are those retail?
Yeah, that retails for $39.99. Yeah, as an 8.5 by 8.5 magnetic surface with an acrylic. It's just a good. That's just crazy. As it's, yes. One is for clear, one is for rubber.
Expensive, cheap and expensive.
If you're using a clear stamp or a rubber stamp, it's different heights. Because this stamp is not as thick as this stamp. So you need to make up for that, and that's the difference in the platform. So this would be the same as unmounted rubber. So if you didn't have cushion, and you had a way to stick your first issue, and they're like, does it work with unmounted rubber? Yes, but you have to stick it down. Because unmounted rubber is not cling, so you're gonna have to double stick tape it or something. Maybe that's what you wanna do, but you can. You can totally use that. But I think it's awesome, I do. I love the detail. I love that I can create intense layers, and of course, who doesn't want a technique out of the deal? I mean, you are like a professional watercolorer all day long, right? You're like, I need to make 20 invitations look like watercolor, no problem. And I want them all to be those colors, no problem. I like that.